Discovered a video of my girlfriend's kinky past with a current friend, and now I need to confront her about it. I've been in a relationship with Kat, F26, for a little over 2 years. Extremely satisfied with the relationship, she is just what I didn't knew I needed. Small arguments here and there, but the kind that gets sorted with a talk or 2 hours after once we both cool down a bit. She really liked a photo montage I did of our vacation, so I was thinking on doing one from since she was born until the first photo we will take when she moves in with me in February, when her lease will end. For that I needed old photos of her, so I asked her, saying it was for a project. She gave me an external HD, said the folder marked memories would be filled with all her photos but they would be out of order, and that there would be photos with her ex-BF from a summer trip they did overseas that she kept for the memories of the trip itself. Yesterday I sat down to start checking the photos. There are a lot of them and they are all out of a specific order, so I was just picking at random. As I was scrolling down I saw a folder in the middle of the images. Weird name, it had a few brackets and random numbers with letters but showed it had content in it. I opened it, 2 images and 1 video. The images were a screenshot of some shoes on a shopping app and a selfie with a thumb covering the half the lens. Then I get the video. Short, 53 seconds, first 7 or 8 seconds is someone fumbling with what I expect to be a phone. Then the camera moves down and it is Kat back, naked. With the movements and sounds is obvious that this is her having sex with someone. To be clear, this is not proof of cheating. She has a back tattoo to which she has been adding through the years. On the video it is less complete than when I met her and her hair is very short. Checking by other photos I would say she was either 18 or 19 years old at the time. Now, we both know that neither of us was a virgin when we met. Still, it is a little bit unsettling to me to get that knowledge imprinted on my brain with visual aids. OFC, she is not doing anything wrong, but there are 3 things running wild on my mind. First, she was wearing what I can only describe as crotchless panties with a bunny tail to the side. At one point I could see what it looked like, a small whip, similar to what the jockeys use. She never showed any inclination for this kind of thing with me, but what is really bothering is that at one point I can see that her right wrist has a handcuff, the kind with fluffy pink hair around, with the other handcuff open at the side. This is bothering me because she absolutely hates to be held in any way by her wrists. First time I did it during sex, she literally tensed and froze on the spot to the point that I stopped what I was doing to check on her. She told me to never do it again. I actually told her to give me a safe word that night so that if I ever did something that she wasn't comfortable, just say the word and I stop. Fortunately never had to use it to this day. Now my mind is trying to make sense of it and I am getting concerned that she doesn't trust me for some reason, at least not to the point she seems to have trusted this guy. Second, the existence of the video itself. She loves taking photos but nothing overly sexual, just some sexy outfits, but even those aren't what I would call too much skin. She is actually pretty flirty and sometimes inappropriate when texting or speaking over the phone, but she told me once to forget any nudes or videos. She won't send them nor let me take them. Really don't mind, I rather see everything live. And now I see a video. Third, and what is bothering the most. I'm almost 100% sure the guy is a friend of hers, Mark M26. At the end of the video, when he goes to shut the recording, he pointed the camera to his wrist. There is a tattoo there that is the same as Mark's. I highly doubt she met 2 guys with the same tattoo in the same place. And they have been friends since first year of college, so it matches the time frame. This is not someone that I am gonna say, oh, they are BFF, they are always together, spend time alone in their apartments. They see each other maybe once a month when their group gathers for dinner or drinks. I actually go with her more often than not. I've been going crazy trying to replay their interactions, looking for any signs that I may have missed of something other than friendship, but honestly, I am coming up empty. He also has a GF and he looks at her the same way I look at mine. I don't expect Kat to tell me every hookup and relationship she had in the past, but with someone that she sees with some regularity I would expect an heads up of some sort, especially because it seems more than just a casual thing, looking at the all setup. This is driving me mad. My actual brain knows she has done nothing wrong and that I am probably overreacting, but my body stress response right now is through the roof. I know that I need to speak to her tomorrow, before I let this pen up more. Already had a bad night's sleep. Tonight I don't expect it to be better, and I am concerned that having this conversation without a clear mind may actually cause issues that I really don't want to have. And honestly, I am a bit scared to go deeper into this rabbit hole. Jesus, what a rant this has become. Sorry for the wall of text, seems I had more to vent than I thought. How do I approach this conversation tomorrow? Edit. Now, maybe my English isn't as good as I hoped, because I honestly do not understand the amount of people with the idea that I want to do BDSM with my GF and that I am salty about she doing it with someone else. Never did. It is not something I can see enjoying, so I would only do it to an extent if I was asked. My issue is, if she is interested in this, why hasn't she approached the subject in a 2-year relationship? And it doesn't help the matter that this doesn't seem to be an ex but one of her friends, which either is in fact an ex and she hid that from me when we talked about past relationships in the beginning of our own, or had a FWB situation or whatever else happened there. Is the not having context to the video that is causing my mind spinning, and that is why I need to speak with her before the dam burst, and that is why I reached out for advice to at least not making this shit worse than it already is. And no, I didn't went through her phone to get pictures. I asked her for pictures, she gave an external HD and told me in which folder to get them. The HD had other folders, I didn't open them. The video was inside a strangely named folder inside the memories folder. I am talking to her tonight, after she comes back from work. She already knows something is not right. I couldn't sleep yesterday and she came back to see why I wasn't in bed that late. This morning she checked on me. You are not yourself the last 2 days, is there something going on? I just told her that I am feeling stressed without an apparent reason and not to worry. No point on a conversation before she leaves for work. Can say that I'll update this today after we talk, as I don't think I'll have the mind for that, but I guess I'll eventually say something. For now I'm going offline. Only she can tell you why she did those things with him but not with you, but from the little explanation you gave, I'd say it's most likely either A. She tried it with him and hated it, or had a terrible experience and never wants to do it again, or B. She never wanted to try it but convinced herself or had someone convince her she had to do it for him, but she didn't want to or had a bad experience. Either way, it's much more likely that she actually trusts you not to push her boundaries and less likely that she doesn't trust you enough to let you grab her wrists. The worst thing you can do now is overthink this. She gave you the drive, you stumbled across this video. Shit happens. You should be able to talk to her about this. You can ask who the guy is. You can ask about the kink stuff. You can ask. She should be able to have a mature, if extremely awkward, conversation about it. Depending on the situation with point 2. She may not want to answer all the questions, but you should be able to have enough of a conversation to quiet your concerns a bit. Honestly, I've had super uncomfortable conversations with my partners about things I've heard / seen / thought that have made me insecure. They suck. They're awkward. But they're important. Whether or not she can have a conversation with you about that is way more important than the actual circumstances of that video. Bonus point 4. People change as they get older, and that includes taste in sex. Not everyone who wears ripped skinny jeans at 18 will want to wear them at 26. It is normal for people to experiment with things or even enjoy things when they're younger that they want nothing to do with as they get older. The most likely reality is that it has nothing at all to do with you. Update 1. The advice of listening to her instead of turning the conversation into an interrogation that was pointed to me by several people prevented me to actually complicate our talk. Not gonna pretend that it is all roses and sunshine. There is some trust that needs to be rebuilt and I still need to process the image of the video. It is still fresh so my brain keeps pushing it forward, but I feel that I just need some time to let my brain shake it off. The original post was long, this update might be a bit as well. She read this before I posted, so all I've written was with her consent. Got a call from an old friend of mine to check up on me because my GF had called him worried about my behavior of the last 2 days. When I said it was something that I would need to talk to her, he said, "That is fine, just remember that Kat is not Mary, an ex of mine. Don't bring that baggage with you. If you have an issue, talk it out, but don't put on your GF someone else's blame." It was like a light switch that flipped. I had been so freaked out that didn't even realize that a lot of what I was feeling was past trauma that was being brought up front and boosting my reactions. Basically afraid of going through something similar, again. When she got home she was already wanting to speak with me. I told her that if she wanted to take a shower I would make some tea and we would talk. I told her that I loved her, I wasn't accusing her of anything or mad at her. I was going through something and she was the only one I could speak that could help me move past it. That I needed her to be honest and not try to hide things from me. Once she agreed, I just asked, when you gave me the external for me to get those photos, were you aware that there is a video in there of you and someone that I think is Mark having sex? That is not possible, I deleted it years ago. That is what she said before breaking down in tears. She hugged me, I hugged back by instinct mostly. In between the sobbing and crying she begged me to not get mad and let her explain. I repeated that I wasn't mad, I would hear what she wanted to say, she just needed to be honest with me. Once she calmed down she told me that it happened around 3 weeks after her 19th birthday. She had broken up with her high school BF about 2 months prior. They were both pretty drunk hanging out at her apartment living room after a night out and things just escalated into physical. She said that in the next morning they both felt extremely self-conscious about the all thing. Mark was really freaked out that she might think he had taken advantage of her because she had a recent breakup. She was concerned that Mark had feelings for her because she only saw him as a friend. They ended up agreeing that it was a drunken hookup that none of them wanted to follow up on. At one point Mark asked her if she remembered making a video. They checked both their phones and there was a video and photo on her phone that she deleted then. She never saw them again and believed them to be gone. According to her they even avoided each other for the next couple of months because of the awkwardness and nothing else happened. I had been watching her while she spoke. She kept eye contact while speaking, seemed tense but nothing unexpected. All in all I saw no reason not to believe her. The handcuffs and all? Joke birthday gift from her girlfriends, it just happened to be there when they went to the room and they thought it would be fun to open the set. We only talked about this yesterday, at the time I had other more pressing questions. As for not telling me in the first place, when she started dating her ex, Mark was out of the country so she never mentioned that happening to her ex. When Mark came back her ex was already showing signs of being jealous and controlling without much reason so she decided no to throw gasoline into the fire. Mark started dating a girl and mentioned that they had been together once a long time ago because she asked. His GF told her ex-BF in the middle of a group outing. Her ex exploded, she ended up breaking up with him, things went a bit out of control to the verge of harassment/stalking. Mark relationship imploded sometime later because the girl saw Kat breaking up with her ex as proof that she has feelings for you and became a bit crazy. She never told me because, in the beginning she wasn't sure how I would react and was afraid I went her ex path, and by the time she figured I wouldn't go that path it had been so long that she just let it go. She apologized, admitted that was a bad call on her part and should have told me and let me decide how comfortable I was with it. When she spoke about her ex being abusive I gently asked if he was the reason for her issue with being held by the wrists. He wasn't. He was verbally and psychologically abusive but was never physical. It was someone else after she broke up with her ex, someone that belonged to her friends group. Apparently he had a secret crush on her, was drunk at a party, they were alone on a small balcony and she friend-zoned him when he proposed. He got close, she placed her hands on his chest to try and stop him and he held her by the wrists and pinned her against a wall. One of her friends saw it through the window and helped. The guy was cut off by the friends group and last time she knew he left to work somewhere else. Still she was aware that if they were alone it might have been a lot worse and when I did it to her it was just a response to the memory. Also, this actually explains some behaviors of hers when we started dating. She looked like she needed time to make sure she was comfortable to be alone with me, now I know why. After this I was drained, well I guess anyone that actually read this far will be as well. I went silent for a good while just replaying everything. She came to me, held my hands and apologized again, said she couldn't make what I saw disappear but it was really in the past and she just needed me to tell her what else she could do to make things easier for me. Honestly at that point my brain was shot. Then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She called Mark on the phone, placed him on loudspeaker while motioning me to be quiet and asked him if he could speak or was close to his GF. His reply was, to me telling, he said that is an odd thing to ask, I am alone, is something wrong? She told him that I had seen the video. Basically, the entirety of the conversation confirmed everything she told me, I didn't say anything so he didn't knew I was listening. After freaking out with I saw you delete that shit, he referred to it as a one-time meaningless thing and a drunk hookup that keeps coming back to haunt us. Was also worried that I would tell his GF like my crazy ex. So after all this she asked me if I needed space but I told her I wanted her near, if she didn't want to be with me in bed I could sleep in my study but she wanted to be close as well. We spent yesterday together, didn't go to the party as it was planned, talked and just kept each other close. She and Mark will take a break on their friendship, he told his GF, which took it better than me, but they decided some distance is better at this point. My GF also offered to only go out with the group with me present regardless of Mark being there or not. Other than that I just asked her to give me some time and to not try initiate sex for now. I want to be completely clear-minded and release this stress that built up before that. Now on to second story. Discovered my mother chose my absar over me, for 12 years she stayed with him, leaving me to question my entire reality. I was removed from my mother's care by DCFS when I was 11 years old due to allegations of SA posed against my stepfather. He was convicted of those crimes, but took a plea deal which meant he'd be out by the time I was 13, and from what I can remember I don't even know that he served those 2 full years anyway. I was his primary victim. I don't remember how old I was when it started but the earliest he admitted to was when I was 8. I don't know if my mom knew before DCFS got involved or if she found out afterwards, but now I don't think it would have mattered to her if she was aware. After being put into temporary custody of the state while the legal issues were sorted out, eventually I was placed with a relative and her husband, who later adopted me when it was clear my mother wouldn't be getting me back. My adoptive parents put me in therapy, got me the help I needed, did everything they could to make me feel safe again. Something they never prevented me from was speaking to my mother. I was always able to call or text her, and she was always allowed to come visit me but I could never go and see her. I didn't really question it as a kid. I assumed it was some stipulation the courts made. I believed growing up that the reason my mom hadn't gotten me back was because of neglect I guess. I assumed that the court thought it was partly her fault that I had been left unattended with that man so often, or that it took someone else noticing I was physically injured for something to be done about it. My adoptive parents never challenged these assumptions I had, and they always told me that they would never stop me from having a relationship with my mom so long as that's what I wanted. Once I turned 18 my mom and I started talking more frequently but we didn't see each other in person often. I never really thought much of it at first but as the years went by I started questioning the circumstances of my removal and subsequent adoption. I was confused as to why a woman with no prior issues with the law would have had her child taken from her in such a cut and dry way. I decided to ask my adoptive parents about it, and they very gently informed me that my mother was told that in order for her to regain custody of me, her husband, my abuser, would be required to leave the home, and could not under any circumstances come near me. Not only because he was an offender but because I was the victim. My mother evidently could not meet these conditions, and so I was adopted by my relatives. When I worked up the courage to ask my mom if it was true, she didn't deny it. She told me she loved him. That he was a good man who made a mistake. They said that she could have her daughter or she could stay with her husband and so she chose him. She picked him over me. I don't even know what to do with the things I'm feeling now. I feel sick just thinking about it. She's my mother, and she knew what he did. He was convicted of sexually abusing her 11-year-old child and she refused to leave him. For the past 12 years she has willingly slept in a bed next to the man that assaulted her daughter. She has stayed married to the man who hurt me. My adoptive parents said they were advised by the therapist to let me figure it out in my own time, as my mother, despite picking that man over me, never made any move to have me near him again. She just wasn't willing to make him leave so that I could be with her. Evidently the therapist thought it would be more detrimental in the long run to keep me from communicating with my mother entirely. None of that makes me feel better. The past 2 days have felt like a nightmare. I don't understand how she could stay with him. I don't understand why she chose a monster over her child. I'm trying to understand why my adoptive parents didn't tell me, but to be honest I don't really understand their reasoning either. My mom has been texting me, but I haven't answered. I can't even think about her without feeling nauseous or so angry I want to cry, or both. My adoptive parents keep checking in on me, but I've only answered the phone for them because I don't want them to drive here out of concern. I really don't even know what to do anymore. Edit, I said this in a comment but I thought I'd clarify here too. I'm not necessarily mad at my parents, I'm just overwhelmed with the reality of this situation. I don't know how I feel, but I know I need time to feel it. I am still in therapy, which is related to the abuse I experienced, so I do have a professional to rely on for guidance if I need it. And I don't think I'll ever be able to speak to my mother again. I can't get past this to forgive her or understand her reasoning, and I'm not sure I will ever want to try. Update 1. I had a therapy session earlier in the week, so I was able to bring this revelation up to my therapist, and we're going to work on ways to help me through processing this. That's obviously something that's going to take time, but I'm sure eventually I'll find a way to live with it, I guess. Right now I still don't know how to unpack any of the feelings I have about this. I do understand why my adoptive parents went about it the way they did. In the moment, being given that information was just a lot to comprehend/deal with, and I felt betrayed. Not necessarily by them, but I think I did put some of those feelings onto them. That wasn't really fair, and I did try to apologize, but they aren't upset with me for it, and they felt I didn't have anything to be sorry for. They know firsthand how difficult this is for me, and they told me they were already expecting the reaction I had. My adoptive mom said that if she had been in my shoes, she would have been upset too, even if that feeling wasn't entirely directed at the right people. I did speak to them about how I felt, and I asked if they could tell me a little more about why they decided to handle it the way they did. They said that when they got custody of me and saw all the ways the trauma from my earlier childhood manifested, they wanted to do everything to make sure I would be able to grow up as cared for and well adjusted as possible. When the therapist encouraged them not to tell me the truth or challenge my belief that I'd been removed from my mom because of neglect, they followed that advice. The doctors and my parents thought it best for me to realize/understand my mother's choice on my own. They said that I had already been failed by so many adults in my life that were supposed to protect me, and that they didn't want to add to that list. My adoptive dad also mentioned wanting me to be able to enjoy at least part of my childhood without something like that revelation hanging over my head. Which, looking back at all of it, I really appreciate. I don't remember much of my childhood up until I was put into my adoptive parents' custody, and what I can remember isn't great, but the childhood they gave me made up for that in spades. I know the choices my adoptive parents made for me were made with my best interest in mind. I love them, and I know everything they did was out of love for me too. I feel like people misinterpreted what I was saying in my last post about my feelings towards them, so I just wanted to clarify that part of it. Regarding my mother, I essentially told her that I wasn't interested in speaking again given everything I know now. I don't know how she took it because I've since blocked her number. My parents have agreed to reiterate that message for me if she contacts them, but I don't think she will. I'm never reaching out to her again. I can't do it. I think part of me is always going to be wondering why she did the things she did, but based on all the answers she's given to my questions so far, I'm not sure her honesty would be very helpful to me in the long run.